Hello, everybody. Producer / husband, Max Joy. I swear to you, it really is me. I have spent the last almost 2 weeks recovering from an illness that my daughter gave to me, and the hacking has absolutely destroyed my voice. So this week we are not going to do the episode we promised 2 weeks ago, wherein we'd cover Morning Glory Milking Farm. That is the next episode. However, while we were on hiatus, we had the opportunity to speak to the wonderful, the inimitable Lauren Carter Reilly, better known to you and I as Glamour Possum on TikTok and Instagram. She is releasing her 4th book this summer, All We Have Is Money, the first book based on her very popular character from TikTok, Sunday O'Riordan. We got a chance to talk to her back during the hiatus, and she reached out to us and said, hey, it's time to tell everybody that that book is coming out soon and let everybody hear the conversation we had. So please enjoy this conversation with Lauren Carter Reilly, and we will see you in 2 weeks with our episode on Morning Glory Milking Farm.
So before COVID happened, I was going to move to Staten Island, which is already a big red flag.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheap Smut. My name is Katie Mizell.
And my name is Max Joy.
And we are very glad to have our special guest.
Yeah. No, I was reading their bio. Could you give me? They have our special guest today has 3 books out: The Wonderful Lady B, Volume 1 and 2, and This Fair Chase. And they also played Aelin Galathynius, I'm gonna say, in Throne of Glass, called or in a fan film from Throne of Glass called The Better World, which is available on YouTube. I am being vague, of course, but I am, of course, talking about Lauren Carter Reilly, aka Glamour Possum. Thank you so much for joining us today on Cheap Smut. How are you on this fine day?
I'm doing good. It's Friday the 13th. Nothing too bad has happened.
No.
It's a pretty nice time, and I'm here with you guys, so I'm looking forward to it.
And you're tipping one back. What are we partaking in? This
a pretty weak margarita that came in a can. So that's my own fault. So that's what I'm currently nursing.
God bless. The struggle is real.
And whose fault is this?
I was lazy. I could have made my own, but I was like, I might as well have a drink, and it's subpar. So gonna be.
If Ina Garten taught us anything, if you can't make your own store-bought is fine.
If this is the worst thing that happens, that's fine. You know, a subpar margarita didn't kill anybody.
So I kind of want to work this whole conversation in reverse order, because on your website you mentioned something that I feel like is the genesis both for us on this podcast and for you in your career, and that is your origins in theater.
Yep.
Would you consider yourself a current theater kid, or would you consider yourself more of a lapsed theater kid?
I mean, it's chronic for all of us, isn't it? You know, it's a chronic illness that none of us ever really get over. And I always give myself the permission to say, you know, if I get acting opportunities, I take them. So I'm still very much a chronic theater kid.
Absolutely. I don't, so I have a bachelor's and a master's in theater. Carl has a bachelor's in theater. We are all theater.
I have a bachelor's in theater. We all have bachelor's in theater.
I love this for us. We've since transitioned off of the stage and into holding microphones in front of cameras, but you still have a fantastic acting career, which is actually kind of how I found you. You mentioned before we started that you had found us because we followed you on TikTok. That was me.
Hi. I love that.
And it was because a friend of mine was like, have you ever heard of Carnelia Joy?
Yes. Oh my God.
Because she's our soul sister. We are like weird pagan women in the woods. I'm in Michigan. She's in Illinois. And we're just like, give me a tree and a weird rock. Right.
Yeah.
And then she was like, and then you have to watch Sunday O'Riordan. And so from there, I kind of became vaguely obsessed with Sunday. And when you reached out, I had a panic attack.
So we are currently in the back of our house, and up front is where she usually hangs out. And my office, because I work primarily from home, is in the front of the house. And I heard one of those sounds that like when you
You're like, is that a good sound? That can
yeah,
be a good sound.
exactly. It hits of that frequency of fight and flight. Like I have to go look at whatever that was, and she's freaking out that Glamour Possum, Glamour Possum, Glamour Possum, and I was like, great. Who? But now I know. I do. Please understand. I do now understand the importance and significance of Glamour Possum.
Well, I also want to take that opportunity to say that the next book I want to work on after the first Sunday one is Cornelia Joy, who I initially wanted to work on it, and then All We Have Is Money presented itself, and I kind of like, I think any writer will know that you start getting enough signals that it's like, okay, I gotta get on this horse, and the other one has to stay tied up somewhere. And then I'll go back to it. So I hope that gives you and anybody else that watches Cornelia Joy a lot of joy. So
I mean, me personally, also I hope they're happy, but I'm very happy. So I guess we could roll right into talking about the book that Sunday O'Riordan is a part of, though it's not her story. But because Sunday is, I think, your most popular character for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to give for our listeners just a little synopsis of who she is?
So Sunday O'Riordan was born very much out of the I think it was like 2 years ago, 2024, when Sopranos was having its like 20th anniversary. Everybody was really obsessed with mob wife aesthetic on TikTok, and throwing out all their clothes and dressing like mob wives, and now they're throwing out those clothes and dressing like Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, who they call CBK, and I think that she would have hated that if she was still alive.
You've never said a truer thing. They would have, like,
I hope that she haunts every single influencer that goes to like. I hope the moment you enter CB Bigelow's, like, her spirit attaches to you. Oh God, that poor woman. So anyway, but I saw all of these people who were not like mob wife, people dressing up like that, and I have always had a thing with my dad loves any kind of mafia movie, so I grew up probably way too young, having seen Boardwalk Empire, Casino, The Sopranos. Peaky Blinders was like a COVID favorite for us because I moved in with my parents for a while. And I was like, okay, I want to dress up and be fun, but also this is like, as an actor, this is an opportunity to kind of like go a step further, because you can't just do anything plain as a theater kid. You have to like make it your own and use the space. So
God, I am so fucking triggered right now.
Trust me. I'm sorry. You asked me my triggers. I didn't ask you triggers about theater school. I'm just going. We're all going to be traumatized by the end of it. So I use the hallway. I have a long hallway in my apartment, and I just started pulling things out that I had never worn or like had been in my closet for a long time. And it really, like, the amount that it took off disturbed me. Like, I was like, oh shit, I did something and I have been seen. And now it's like that thing of like, oh God, I've been seen, and like I'm a human being that's been seen on the internet. And the other part of me was like, but there's attention.
But they like me.
But the reviews are mostly positive, so we should keep this going. And it turned into this like world building exercise for me as an actor, and also me as like somebody that I was not only a theater kid, I was an improv theater kid. And I hope that anyone that was ever in an improv troupe with me has forgotten about me, or they're all dead. I really hope that nobody remembers me from those days.
Prey on their downfall. We do.
Like, but I had this like thing that I was doing, and the other part is like I have transitioned into doing more behind the scenes stuff, but I really missed acting, and it was a fun opportunity to get to learn how to like film yourself and how to do angles and music and beats and things like that, and also like script writing and where the story was going. And I started getting messages from people that were like, this is my comfort character. Like, oh my God, I had such a bad day, and there's a Sunday O'Riordan episode. And I was thinking, like, this is how people react when like regular TV shows have new episodes.
Yeah.
Or like a new season drops. And it's like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this. And then I started getting messages of people that were like, I don't feel that confident about my body, or I don't feel that confident in my relationship, and I deserve to be treated better. And I was like, oh shit, like this is some of the messages I get. Sometimes I have to go on very long walks after I read them, because people will get like disturbingly vulnerable with you about stuff that has happened in their lives. And people were like telling me that their parents had just died or they had just left relationships. And I like, how do I respond to that? And I think anybody that's a public figure, especially like on a very accessible platform like TikTok, has had those experiences where you're like, you should not be telling me this. Like, you should have like you should have like a trusted circle of friends that you get this vulnerable with, not me, who like, you don't know me, you know? And the thing is that like with Kurt, with the Wonderful Lady B, that started with, if this was a book, I would buy it. And I realized that this was an opportunity to make money that I wouldn't make through the Creator Fund, because nobody gets paid through the Creator Fund anymore. I did really well in February with my numbers, and I made $64. Like,
banger month.
yeah,
We love to
right?
hear that. Jesus.
And I'm like, I can't even, like, that's my light bill and maybe a little bit extra. But so I was like, okay, I need to do a Sunday O'Riordan book. But there was a book that I had wanted to write for a really long time. But then I started to realize that they sort of coincided and they had a lot of similar themes. And I thought, this is an opportunity to write something that I really want to write, but also I can open the door as like a franchise with Sunday O'Riordan, and people will like get a little bit of her and it'll set up for other books. And this is now like become the longest book I've ever written, and I'm doing edits now. But I think that this is the one where like I've even talked to my dad, who knows nothing about, you know, publishing or acting or anything like that, and he's like, this might be one of your big ones. And after having written 3 books that I think have done pretty well, considering that I'm self-published and do everything on my own, I'm like, oh shit, you know? And it's also the darkest book I've written. And I have a hard time, like, if we want to talk about books and kind of book talk stuff, it's really hard marketing. And it's really hard being in the romance space, which I would say All We Have Is Money is a romance. It's not like a dark romance in the traditional sense. It's a romance about people that have been through dark things and are trying to figure out, like, can we ever be normal after this? And we're potentially going to have to do more dark stuff together to like have the lives that we want, even though these are people that have access to a lot of stuff. And you think like, these aren't people that have to, you know, revert to, you know, extortion and murder and all these other things, but they do. Because I love writing about rich people suffering in beautiful places. It's my favorite genre.
That's fabulous. Well, you just described as a gray romance, and it's a valid genre of romance.
I'm learning. I know there's a lot of stuff that I never learned before, and some of it's against my will. But I'm slowly figuring out. Like,
hey, I have that in common. This whole show is me learning about all of this stuff at gunpoint, and the gun is shaped like a dick.
I sit in the car sometimes and just explain to my boyfriend like stuff he's not on any form of social media, and I will sit there and explain it to him, and he's just like trying, like looking forward, getting the long expression behind the wheel, being like, wait, what is
yes,
what is that?
That's one of my favorite faces. I mean, not to plug my own show in the middle of my own show, but
go for it.
We are often told that our show is a great way for your male partner to experience these books, because how do you tell them this with a straight face? I will.
You have to break it down for them.
Yeah.
No, and like
in 90 minutes, and you'll hear some of the weirdest shit you've ever heard.
I've explained to God, what was I explaining to him the other day? Because we had to break down Heated Rivalry, and then I had to explain to him what's the alpha stuff.
Omegaverse, yeah.
I had to explain Omegaverse. We've explained Heated Rivalry. And so the funny thing is, I explained to him like fan fiction and how much stuff is based on fan fiction, which was great for me because we were talking and I was like, what was your COVID comfort show? Because we all had them. And he goes, Supernatural. Yes. And he's not from America. Like he doesn't he doesn't know anything about the fandom. So he was like, I thought this was the most like cool masculine show ever. And I was like, Joseph,
it's so gay.
Turn the rock over, Joseph.
It's so gay.
And he just genuinely loved it because he was like, yeah, it's like I want to be like cool and I want to be cool with a leather jacket and a cool car and a baseball bat. And I'm like, honey, how much of this do I ruin for you?
A husband.
I know. We didn't have time to come up with it, but there was a part of me that this last Halloween, I was like, should we just be like Dean and Castiel for a couple's costume.
Oh my God, yes.
I know, but we didn't have time to come up with it. And now I'm like, guess then Halloween's coming up again. You won't believe how quickly it comes up.
The best part is that a Castiel costume becomes a John Constantine costume if you change the color of the tie, so you can use it for 2 years in a row.
See, I like the utility of that. Yeah. So that was interesting to have to explain to him, and like all of the fan fiction stuff and all of the different fandoms and being on Tumblr. And then he was like, oh, you were a Tumblr girl. And I was like, I absolutely ate up every piece of Merlin fan fiction I could find.
Are you kidding me?
I was a Merlin girl.
God, yes.
I know.
Absolutely.
Tumblr was a terrible place because it was like 1 minute.
There was just a golden age of Tumblr homoerotica.
It was super hulock and eating disorders and flower crowns.
I swear to God. And flower crowns. God, okay, flashback.
And we all popped out on the other side of it. I know.
And most of us are like, this is my crystal collection. Although you are advanced because you freaking live in Salem.
I know. But it's also interesting, like, when you read stuff and it's obvious that someone's filed the serial numbers off. And it's like, this is a Marauders fan fiction. This is a Doctor Who fan fiction. This is fan fiction of, like, real people, which I am always like, I don't like fan fiction based on real people. It gives me the ick.
Too, but if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have the Omegaverse, because that
we wouldn't.
Fic was a real life fic. It was Jared and Jensen.
I know.
And
it's icky, but also yes,
feels icky.
I'm not an Omegaverse person, but I know many people that are, and you guys are great. I'm gonna stay over here, but you kids have fun.
Honestly, it's absurdism. I love absurdism.
It is. It's crack fan fiction. That's what it is.
I find so much joy and pleasure in turning human sexuality into the dumbest bullshit you can think of.
Well, the sex is weird. Like,
the sex is weird, and it's funny sometimes.
And it's funny, and it's like, it's awkward to talk about sometimes, and we have to like figure out different ways to talk about it and have
I also think that what it has become in the literary space, because like Omegaverse books, that's a huge market, right? And it popped up out of nowhere.
I know, and I think like it's so interesting to watch all of the traditional publishing houses try to scramble and be like, what the fuck do we do with this?
What do
shit?
We do? How do we do knots in a
how
traditional
do we sift through?
Yeah.
I love it.
How do you explain some of those books are MPreg? How do you explain that shit to people? The men get pregnant. How do you explain?
Well, Joe's on Reddit, so he was like, I've seen this one. Yeah. So I'm like, there, you see one. There you go.
I understood that reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I get it, and I understand it more, and I don't want to, but thank you for explaining it to me.
I do think that it's fascinating watching how much it has grown as an indie publishing genre specifically. And I think a lot of it has to do with the absurdism of stretching the heteronormative dynamic to its limits like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that is some heteronormative shit.
But
it's absurd.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to read about heteronormative stuff, I might as well be reading the silliest stuff I can find. I mean.
See, because sometimes it's you have to get really weird and work your way back towards it. And that's not like ever been my style of writing, but I think also being in this space, you have to be like, if for thee, then not for me. But you got to share the space with like a bunch of other people.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also funny. The other thing that I love is sometimes you'll go on to Book Talk and you'll be like, who fucked up?
Right?
Somebody goofed. Like,
uh-oh. There's like just a mob with pitchforks.
Because you'll see people posting over and over again about this one thing, and you're like, hit the search bar.
Yep.
And it further bolsters me being like, I stay out of so much bullshit, and I'm really proud, because sometimes I'm like, nope, don't do it. But don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it only comes back to bite you in the ass. It's like, okay, I saw that. I have feelings. I'll share them offline with my friends. Because I think you put your nose in it and it will only ever come out badly.
And that's something that I find fascinating about folks like yourself. You, especially as a woman, you have a strength inside of you that I cannot muster, and that is just being on the internet. So you were an actor did you start primarily in theater? I'm driving somewhere with this. So.
Yeah. Well, so a great way to talk about my third book. I was a theater kid.
Mhm.
I did every pre-college program. My parents would find places to send me, and my dad and mom always held the strong point that, well, if you sucked, we wouldn't encourage you to keep doing it. And that was very much their thing. They were like, listen, if you were bad and this was not going to go somewhere, we would have encouraged you to do other things. And I think that because of that, I was so focused on theater. I was like 100%. I was in high school. I was kind of like a Rachel Berry, where I was very protective of my program. And I was like, I deserve this. Like, why did I not get the lead? And I was also dealing with a lot of like body issues that you deal with as a high school girl. And I wasn't getting cast in parts that, like, now as an adult, I'm like, I could have done that. But there's always politics in theater, and there's always politics, especially in high school theater. And so I wouldn't get the part when the cast list would come up, and I had a really bad, I would cry every time, and people would be like, oh, she's such a spoiled bitch, she didn't get the part. And I'd be like, why did I even think I could do that? Of course I wasn't going to get the part. I wasn't pretty, I wasn't thin, I wasn't this, I wasn't that. And so then I go to theater for college. And if you notice on all of my books, the covers on my author bios, I put my high school, but I do not put my college. I had the worst time. There was a lot of stuff that was shifting. Half of my staff at my college was fired after my freshman year.
Oh no!
So all these people that I wanted to work under were suddenly gone, and the woman who ran it was like a fucking psychopath.
And just to add some color for folks, a theater department is not like a math department or an English department. Like, it is a very small, insular community, and you make your choices based on those staff.
Yeah, I wanted to pick it because, one, I got in-state tuition, and two, I had met somebody as a mentor when I was 16 who was like, if you come here, I will like make sure that you're good and you're taken care of. And I was training to do Commedia dell'arte. And I would have, like, if I could have just done that for the rest of my life and been able to live off of that, I totally would have. I loved doing clown work. I loved doing physical theater. Like, that was my strong point. Because I was a comedian, but I was also really physical, and I was willing to like throw myself down on the ground. Like Connor Story, who's from Heated Rivalry, did clown work, which is why he's so, like, his SNL episode that he just did, he's so funny because he can like push himself to that point and be really physical, and also like is really hot, and it's because he's funny.
It doesn't
and all of the other, like physical trappings of looking like Connor Story and being beautiful. But so I started to realize that, like, I don't like being told what to do, which is kind of bad if you're going to be in theater. And I would push back, and I would be tapped as being difficult, and I would point out things that were not appropriate, and I would get told I was difficult. And I was also, when you don't really care about yourself, you start hanging out with other people that don't care about you and don't care about themselves. And you start getting yourself into situations and being told, like, well, if you want to be easy to work with, especially as a woman, I know it happens to men. I know it happens to people of any gender you identify with. You get told, like, well, you have to start making deals with yourself now if you want to be successful. And this is just how it is, toots. So I graduated from college. I realized I had no connections. I had no credentials. I had no friends. I had no boyfriend. And I started basically from like below ground level. I had all this training, but you're supposed to graduate from college with connections, and you go do a senior showcase, and you go, my school. So the woman who was the head of our department stole all our money. We had no money for a senior showcase, which is where you're supposed to go to all these cities and meet producers and agents and directors and people that will sign you, or people that will, say, hey, come work for our theater, come to this city. Like, you're also going to see if this is places that you would like to go work. We went to New York. There were 6 people in the audience after 4 years of training.
Oh, wow.
And yeah.
1.25 people per year.
I died. And then we had to do 2 shows.
Sorry, 1.5.
Yeah, there were six people in the audience the first show, 4 people in the audience the second show. Oh. And I literally went up to the woman who ran our senior showcase, and I went, what the fuck is happening? And she looks at me and goes, well, if this is what you were banking on, you should have already been working in, to try and make connections, Lauren. And then I lit a cigarette in her face, and I
Yeah.
walked all the way to the Met, and I cried like a bitch in the statue room. I paid $45 to sit in a room surrounded by ancient Greek statues and just cry.
That's so iconic. Oh my
But
God.
like, I think about it now, and I'm like, that was such a cunt move. That was so good of you. But in the time, I was like, I have no future. I'm 22 years old. I what am I supposed to do? I went to clown college. Like,
I'm just picturing you, 22, beautiful.
22, like 120 pounds soaking wet in a wrap dress. It's like March in New York. All of these Chinese tourists are going around tour groups. And I'm crying so hard, like fists holding onto the bench. I'm crying so hard that no sound is coming out, and I'm beat red. And then I walk back to where I was staying, and I looked in the mirror, and I'm like, you're gonna get your shit together. And then I called my mom, and she was like, every time I know it's bad, she'll normally try to be like, well, Lauren, it's okay. Things will work out. And this time she just went, oh, Jesus Christ, Lauren.
Shit.
Oh, no.
And so a lot of stuff that like I experienced, I put in my last book because it's about a girl who she goes to New York, she goes to conservatory, and she's like going to be an actor. And she's like, I can't go home. Failure's not an option. Like I'm also too deep in the cult. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that happened to me was during COVID.
Uh-oh.
So before COVID happened, I was going to move to Staten Island, which is already a big red flag that my life is going in not a good direction.
It's so wise of you to understand that.
I was going because the guy I was hooking up with lived on Staten Island, and I didn't know anybody else in New York. And I was like, at least if I get in with his friends, somebody's mom will invite me over to Sunday dinner and I won't starve. So
and you'll have leftovers to get you at least.
And I'll have
Wednesday.
leftovers. And so I was literally going to do like the working girl Melanie Griffith, where I was going to take the ferry over to Manhattan every day. And I was just going to like pound the pavement and like step my pussy up. And like I was going to get that part. And then I was in Savannah with my mom when the shutdown happened 6 years ago, guys.
I know.
Today.
Yeah.
So we're in Savannah. That's my mom's family's from there. So we were like trying to like find, places that her dad had gone. Like he's from Americus. And so we walked out from our hotel one day, and it's a ghost town. And if you've ever been to Savannah, it was around Forsyth Park. People are always walking their dogs. There's always tours. There's cars. It was nothing. And so then throughout that week, we were driving through the South, and I'm getting calls. I get a call from the place I was going to go intern at. I have no job anymore. The industry has shut down. Production has ceased on everything. I lost the apartment I was going to stay in because they couldn't kick the former tenants out because he didn't have a job anymore. And so I was like, it's fine. This is fine. I'm fine. This is, you know what? I will find somewhere else to live. And my mom, we get back to Pennsylvania because I was still living in Philly, hadn't renewed my lease, half my stuff's in boxes. And my mom was like, okay, so it's 2 weeks, right? We're flattening the curve in 2 weeks. She goes, why don't you move home? We'll put your stuff in a pod. And then when everything opens back up again, we will start over. Because I didn't have a job either. I had no job. And 2 weeks turned into 6 months.
Yeah.
And I was living at home again. And my dad describes it. He was like, it was like watching you leave a cult. Like you deprogrammed. Because every day I would get on Zillow and I'd be like, are there any apartments? Of course there were apartments available in New York. People were fucking dying. And my dad he brought home a Cinnabon, and I like lay on the floor and cried. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And my mom sat me down and she's like, okay, so this is not happening. Like, I know that this is the life that you've worked for your entire life. Ain't gonna fucking happen. Because you, if you get sick, cannot come home. We cannot come get you. We're both older. We're living in the country, so we're not really interacting with anybody. None of us are gonna get sick. But like, we can't in good conscience do something that will like hurt you.
Yeah. You
cannot literally go into the eye of the storm. Like, this was every day on the news where there were like fucking bodies in ice trucks. And she's like, and you want to go live there? And I'm like, well, the theaters will open up any day, Mom. I have to be ready. Everyone's replaceable. My mom,
we're devising new ways of theater.
Shut the fuck up. Like, this is not happening. And I moved to Salem, and like that was when I started kind of working on In This Fair Chase, because I was thinking about all the stuff that had happened to me. Like, I would take the train up from Philadelphia to New York. And I'm one of those people who like, I love to talk to people. And then I'm always that person that they'll be like, oh, Lauren, do you want to come with us? We're going somewhere after we shoot or after all the auditions are done. And I'd end up in clubs, and I'd look over and be like, oh my God, that person's famous. Oh my God. Like, oh my God, that person's famous. And then you'd go in the bathroom, and I remember this so clearly. I'm not going to say who, but I walked into a nightclub bathroom, and some beautiful girl, so beautiful, oh my God, laying on the bathroom floor in New York, like screaming at her friend because some guy had not called her back and he was supposed to bring them more Coke.
Oh no.
And I just remember being like, excuse me, I'm going to go in the stall. And I'm sitting in the stall, and through like me also being wrecked, because you'd audition all day. You'd go to cattle call castings, you're going to agencies, and you're like taking your little book and being like, I did Commedia dell'arte. I did like Carlo Gozzi's Greenbird when I was a sophomore in college. And they're like, fuck off and go lose 30. So then, you know, you don't eat all day, and then you're like, I only have a little bit of money, and then I got to go home, so I'm going to go drink. And I just sitting in the bathroom stall being like, is this what I want? I don't think I want this anymore. And, you know, I was writing during COVID, and my mom sat me down again, and she goes like, you need to do this because maybe we should have pushed the writing harder than the acting because you're great at both. But also, you've got an incredible voice when you write. And maybe this will connect with people the way that you want to connect with people acting. And the first Wonderful Lady B books came out, and then I just did book club for a store for In This Fair Chase here, and it was amazing to see people I'd never met before having such intelligent discussions about what I had written, and like having so much fun. And like, you know, I had written that, and it also began. In This Fair Chase is very special to me because so while I'm living in Salem, I have no furniture, no job. I'm living up there and being like, what the fuck am I going to do with the rest of my life? Like, I moved up here just because it was the only place that I could go that I could afford. And my friend started a magazine right before COVID. It's called Sought. It is a modern version of like a 1970s nudie magazine. So like Penthouse, Playboy, like that kind of thing. But it uses people that are like of all different shapes, of all different races, different genders. And Nate calls me and he goes, hey, I really want to drop the first issue, but all I have is pictorials. I have nothing to put in between them. And you said that you want to start writing. Do you want to write a short, like, do you want to write a fiction contribution? Do you want to be the fiction contributor for a nudie magazine?
Yeah.
And I went, I'm not doing anything else. And I'm like, I don't know. But also I was still like in the mode of like, I have to get back to New York. And I'm like, I don't know how this would affect my career that I don't have. And he goes, I'll pay you $200. And I'm like, done. Like, show me the money. So I wrote, there's a masturbation scene in This Fair Chase. And that ended up going, that was my short story. And I was like, oh God, I wrote something dirty. I'm a dirty person. I'm a terrible human being. Because I think that like, especially as women, anytime we have a sexual thought, that's how we feel. We're like, oh my God, I thought this thing and it's awful and dirty. And I thought it's about a person I shouldn't think about. And oh my God, I thought about doing something dirty in a place that's, you know, you shouldn't do dirty things. And I'm a terrible human being. And so then I was like, well, obviously I have to send a copy of this magazine to my parents. I did.
Proud.
And I did, and then I didn't get to see the artwork before because somebody did artwork for it. And so if you open this issue of Sought, I'm trying to see if I have a copy of it to show you guys. I don't know if I do. Hold on. I'm still going to keep talking, but I might have it.
It's okay.
So my mom is like, you know, I showed her the magazine, and she's like, oh, honey, we got your magazine. Oh, my God, I think I have it. Nope, not that one. But so,
listener,
you know,
she's
I'm
left
talking to my
afraid.
mom about this, and she's like, well, we saw the magazine. It's very nice. Oh my God, I have it. Okay. So also everybody thinks it's me on the cover. It's not. It's a burlesque performer named Hella. But my mom is like, well, your dad opened it first. And I go, how'd he take it? And she goes, well, there's a satyr with a massive erection. So
Yep.
Yes.
that's what he opened the page to. And I mean, like, it's really well done. I mean,
both
it's
those things.
girthy motherfucker. So yeah, it was really, I mean, but like, I was like, oh my God, I'm a published author. And it was because I wrote smut. And then I was like, what if I wrote a whole book based around that, you know? And it's In This Fair Chase is about a like girl who keeps not getting cast because she's curvier and she's taller. She's 5'11" in the book. And she gets cast as Helena in a like star-studded, you know, Broadway level mount of Midsummer Night's Dream. And she's friends with the director. and starts realizing how fucked up everybody is that's famous, and how fame like doesn't make you happy, and how everybody's kind of got their own agenda. You know, there's two characters that were in love in a previous show, and now they're playing Demetrius and Lysander. One of the girl playing Titania is a very kind of up and coming actor from England, and she's trans. She's also dating the director in secret because they fell in love during another production, and like she's starting to realize that if this thing fucks up, she has to go home, and she kind of has to rely on her boyfriend to get her apart. Puck is played by a guy who has just left rehab. Who is like, they're trying to get him to be taken seriously as an actor because he's kind of like a fucked up child star. Like, he's very famous and he's very visible. And they're like, if we have you do theater, they'll take you more seriously. So you're going to be Puck. And she starts to form a relationship with him, and they essentially they're in a PR relationship because their director and the guy who runs the theater is like, hey, so he's like not getting it. Like, he fucking sucks. And you went to college for theater. So what if we like crafted a way for you guys to spend time together so you could essentially tutor him, but we'll make it look like you're dating. And everybody will think, oh my God, Sydney's so relatable. And she's like, fuck. But she does it, and they start spending more time together. And also an actor that she's had a crush on for years is playing Oberon. So there's kind of a little bit of a love triangle. And everybody's sort of like got feeling. The other thing is, like, when you do theater, everybody gets so emotionally attached to each other in such a short amount of time. And I really wanted to do that because everybody's sort of like, you do get crushes on people that you would never have feelings for, like in the outside world. But you're spending so much time together that you're like, oh, I hope they notice that like I did that scene really good today. And like, oh, like, I don't know, I want to tell them that like their monologue was really good, but I don't want to be weird. And like, then you walk out and you're like, I don't fucking know these people. Like,
yeah, I was actively the opposite. I was like, I hope they hated that. But that's me.
You're misanthropic to like a fault.
I'm a malcontent.
You
on the other hand, you were much more friendly at school.
I was indeed. I was very friendly,
and
crushable. Why I'm not in theater anymore, because I was too friendly and it broke me.
I was way too nice. I would not tell, people where they could put it until it was too late. And now, I'm like, get the fuck out of my way. But yeah, that's sort of where In This Fair Chase was born. I also just noticed that on the first edition, Nathan misspelled my name, but that's okay.
Nathan.
Nah, it's fine. He's busy. So, he's taking pictures of naked people.
You answered the question that I was going to ask, and without even me asking it. So, and well done.
What was it?
Which was something that Katie and I talked about as actors in theater, is that a lot of times it feels like you're constantly asking for permission.
Yes.
You're always the one who's auditioning. You're always the one that says, I hope that somebody puts on this show. I hope that somebody does this. And if I ever one day, I always wanted to play Bobby and Company. That was my dream role.
That's a good one. Everybody's,
right?
Yeah, everybody, I think we all like to think, well, if I got this part, and the circumstances were right, that'd be my big one.
Exactly. That's what I wanted. And I feel like what I was driving at in terms of like being on the internet and having that courage is I could never, I am scared of the internet. I could never do that. And I think it is fascinating that you took it upon yourself and use this format that was not there when I was younger. I'm older. I'm 47 years old. So if I ever wanted to do that, I couldn't have done it. But you not only said, I miss this so much that I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it specifically on this platform. And it's allowed you the opportunity to go from there to find other opportunities for these voices. So you answered the question of the permission, which at least I think it seems like you did this. But the thing that I found so fascinating about you and your work that I'd like you to speak to, if you don't mind, is
sure.
How do you decide as somebody who is such a polymath and all of these different things that you do with these stories? How do you decide, am I going to make this a video? What if I wrote this in a book? What if I do this? I think this is going to be better as this, or, ooh, I can actually do both of these things. With somebody who has so many different tools in their toolbox, how do you decide to tell these stories?
I think that with acting, I give myself more permission to play around, and it's kind of like you get to crowd test things, and you get to see how other people respond to it. And is there more? And also the thing that I love about TikTok is that people, especially with Sunday O'Rourke, that I noticed was people would get attached to characters so like intensely, and I would be like, it's only me. I'm the only person. I am not acting against anyone else. It's just my reactions. It's just my face. But whatever I'm doing, that connects with a stranger so intensely that they leave a comment telling me. And that's really where I'm like, okay, other people like this. What's also something that maybe they don't see that I kind of have in my own little, notebooks? And if I wrote this down, would they be like, oh, yeah, because the other thing is, I think with books, I can take it so much further. I don't have to be I can describe things from other people's point of view. I can describe how other characters are feeling so much better than when it's just me reacting. And that's really why I was super excited for Sunday O'Rourke, because I've built this world that I can only take so far with just acting and not having like a full crew and like a full cast and, doing a production. But with a book, I can sit down and I can really build and take what I've heard from other people, take what I know to be true, and I can make something really unique and really wonderful. While also, the other thing is like every character that I play that's a main character was something that I'm like, I want to do that, but I've never been given the opportunity to, talking about permission. I was never going to walk into a room and somebody was going to see me and be like, you should play like a Southern Gothic hairdresser that lives in a trailer and was a teen mom. I was never going to walk in somewhere and be like, you should play like a mob boss. Those opportunities were just never going to happen for me, but I wanted them. And, instead of waiting for somebody else to choose me, I chose myself. And I'm always going to be what people think about when they picture Sunday O'Rourke. My big dream is that one day there's going to be a movie or a TV show with her. But I'm always the first one that really, played her because I made her. And that's really important to me. And I think that I think a lot of women are afraid to be seen and like give themselves the possibility, especially that's why I've really gravitated to romance, because that gives you permission to put yourself in these fantastical situations that you're not going to, if you're older or you are not like the typical, beautiful woman, or if you're not the typical, like, I'm 19 years old and I'm the chosen one and my waist is this big and like my hair is down to my ass and I'm constantly backflipping.
The chosen one's never in their late 40s with sciatica.
I would love to write something where they're like, they pop up when she's in her 30s and they're like, oh, we skipped a cycle. Actually,
we're
you're
late.
the chosen one now.
So
a lot of shit has gone down. We kind of forgot to tell you you're the chosen one, because I went through a lot of stuff. So I played Aelin Galathinius, who's a very, like, if you were talking about romantasy, Throne of Glass is like a big Sarah J. Maas, and my friend wanted to make it, and I said I would do it, and I freaked out a little bit because in all of the books, all they talk about is how beautiful Aelin is and how she's like a fucking cat burglar and she's an assassin and she's like, again, she's like this big around and she's 300 feet tall and she's like this glamorous Victoria's Secret model that's also like an Olympic athlete. And I'm like, okay, like,
if you say so,
Toots. But the movie we made was like, it's 10 years later. She's had a kid, and I was like, I was really like, oh my God, like, are we gonna piss people off because, you don't maybe want to identify with somebody that is too close to how you actually look and how you feel. Like when you read some of the stuff, you want to picture that you're the hot blonde 20-year-old who has all the superpowers. Because in real life, maybe you have kids, or maybe you have a disability, or maybe your job sucks, or maybe you're a caretaker, and maybe you don't like your body and you don't like how you look. But when you sit down and you read, you're so beautiful that like every mafia boss wants to marry you, or the creature that, lives on this planet is like fascinated by you. And you get to be like, the blue aliens all want to fuck you. Like,
you made a nice Planet Barbarians reference. I heard it.
I know, there it is.
Yeah.
But like that's
8.
I think that's what people want to escape to, because like life kind of sucks right now. None of us are making enough money.
Since when did life start sucking?
Yeah.
New.
Your life sucks. Mine's actually amazing. So
God.
I'm happy. But yeah, I think that, like, you know, romance has always been something that women escape to, and it's also something that we're always doing wrong. Like, we're always reading books wrong.
I swear to God. You know that TikTok trend that all the bones taste the same to Father Johann?
All the Father Johann. Yeah.
I want to do that one, but it's going to be, it doesn't matter whether you read closed door Amish or full on freaky sentient object. A man is going to think it's wrong.
Yeah. And it's going to be like, you don't get it.
He's going to open his mouth and I'm going to be like, shut up. Oh my God.
Just let me have my trash.
Yeah. The shit like that, okay, Ted, shit like that, Ted, is why the women in these books will fuck literally anything other than a man.
Literally anything.
Literally anything other than a human man.
Like, you get it from other women too, where you know you write stuff and it's like, oh well, I don't understand why that's attractive. And I think the thing that I've noticed that people love and also hate about Sunday O'Riordan is that she's the one that's in charge. And there's a lot of girls that are like, I don't want to be in charge. I want to be like Mary. I want to be the mob wife, and I would never leave my husband, and I would just like be super hot and shop all the time. Like, why is she working?
I get, like, I understand the impulse.
I do too. But also, like, my personal fantasy would be that I run like a multi-million-dollar company, but also every single guy is like, holy shit, you're so in charge of everything, and I'm a dumbass. Let me come work for you.
Yes. Yes,
please. There's a character that people love that like is in the Sunday O'Riordan universe that is admittedly a dumbass, and people love him because he's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on right now, but like, let me help you make your dreams come true.
I would make a great employee at your fictional company because that is what I just like. Yeah, sure, cool.
So like the other thing is like I had a man message me and he was like, that's kind of my
one of the rabbits. I swear to God.
No, so I had someone leave a comment and he deleted it, and I wish I'd screenshotted it, but I saw it. He said, oh my God, that's my dream. I want to be like super subby and I just want to beat the shit out of people and then have a woman take care of me after I like do all of this physical stuff for her. Like, I want that to be my job.
I have recommendations for that man.
But I was like, it's kind of like it's a male fantasy too, where it's like you get to be the big strong guy, but you don't have to be like the provider. Mm-hmm. Like somebody else is providing, you still get to be stereotypically masculine, but not with the responsibilities of like, if I fuck this up, my whole family's gonna starve.
We talk about that all the time. How that would basically be the dynamic in a matriarchal society.
Oh yeah.
You know, it just if that was matriarchy, I would just be like, oh, you need something something heavy lifted? Cool. All right, call me when you need me. I'm good.
Yep. And then
I would say Sunday sort of like built her own little matriarchy and like the thing also about mafia culture and like all of those books is that the culture's so hyper masculine. All of these very traditional cultures, like there's organized crime everywhere, but the ones that are the most famous are the ones that also are the ones that are most patriarchal. So you've got Ireland, you've got Italy, you've got Japan, Albania, a lot of Eastern European countries, a lot of Asian countries where masculinity is still the ruler of the day. But the thing that I love too about Sunday O'Riordan is that all the women that are in charge are also in traditionally feminine fields. Mm-hmm. So you've got somebody that runs a lifestyle brand. You've got someone who works in PR. You've got someone who does nightlife. You've got someone that was a former model. You know, these businesses that are hard to take seriously because the men are like, I don't get that. But then the women do it and they make millions of dollars and they become the primary breadwinners, even if the men are still like in charge of their own families. Yeah. Which was fun to write about because it's like, well, technically the wife isn't working, even if she's pulling in more of the money. Because that's the other thing about like mob culture and like the way that my dad's family's Irish Catholic. And the thing is like, you don't want your wife working because it's a sign that you're not a good provider. Like, my wife looks nice because I make so much money. My wife looks nice because I bought her jewelry. My kids go to good schools because I pay for them to go there. And there's a lot of pressure on the men. And, you know, I think that, like, I don't know if you've had time or seen the discussion around the Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary that came out.
Louis Theroux is a brave.
But the thing that made me sad was, like, you know, you look at the men that he interviews, all of them have absent fathers.
Yeah.
and also grew up in like hyper abusive situations or neglectful situations. And it was just that like mom wasn't there because she was working. Or like the one that really breaks my heart is the guy that seems the most normal, who also scares the shit out of me. And he's on TikTok, I think, and his name is Justin Waller. And he has like an actual business. He's not like a podcast or anything. Like he's a steel builder, which is like he has this big company, and on the surface you're like, okay, he's got like a real job and he like has to be more social and he's kind of nicer because he has to talk to people every day. Like I'm like, this is a man that has to talk to employees and like clients and like be semi not a dick. But then he's also the scariest because you're like, oh shit, he can talk to people and sound like he's not insane. And he is also arguing for like one-sided monogamy is the one where I'm like, just break up already.
Yeah, seriously. Well, the great Patton Oswalt. That's why those people are so dangerous. The great Patton Oswalt bit where he's talking about like you got somebody who's using coarse language, being like, I don't care if the F slurs get married, they don't bother me. You know, that person is actually more on your side than somebody like that who knows the language,
who's in a suit and can like talk to you more convincingly and more intelligently. And I mean, Louis Theroux is like constantly looking like he wants to back slowly out of the room.
Oh yeah.
But that was something that I was like, I see a lot of this, and also All We Have Is Money, because these are, you know, there's a lot of male characters and you see the backgrounds that they come from, and the ones who grow up in like a lot of privilege or they gain a certain amount of power are like, I'm not letting this go. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna like listen to a woman. I'm not gonna answer to a woman. You know, I'm not gonna do this. And then a lot of the women, through like a lot of soft power stuff, are able to kind of take it away from them because they're not like, they're ready for the person that's going to get up in their face and be like a full-on feminist and be like, bah, 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 and they're like ready for that. And the thing that I've also learned with being on the internet and dealing with this men, if you don't play their game, they get really pissed off because they're children.
Yes, they are.
And it's that thing of like, okay, you're gonna have a tantrum. All right, I'll sit here until you're done. And they're like, well, debate me, like yell at me. You know, like what's that thing from Family Guy where it's like, discipline me, make me wear panties, like, you know, put a wine bottle in me. And they want you to be pissed off at them. And you're like, if I don't play the game, I can't lose. Yeah, and you're playing the game and you're still losing.
You mentioned Louis Theroux, his documentary about Gaza in Israel, the settlers or the settlement. Yeah. The old woman. He's this very cruel old woman. You know, she's getting angry at him. She shoves him, and he doesn't respond. And she says, "I wish you would have shoved me back." Like that's what you're dealing with people like that. Like they want you to be so fucking mad. And
they do, because then it proves their point. Exactly. But if you don't play with them, then they don't want to take their toys and go somewhere else. Then they want you to fight them, and then they want you to react, so that way they can say, "Aha, you reacted." Or if they push you enough, it's also like that kid in school who they push you and push you and push you, and then you react, and it's like, teacher, look at what she's doing. Yeah. She's picking on me, and I didn't do anything. Which is also like, there is a female character in, you know, I love the saying I'm a feminist, but some of you bitches make it really hard. There's a female character in All We Have Is Money that I've read excerpts about, and people already hate her, and I hope that they don't hate her enough to not see why she is the way she is. Because she's a victim of it as much as everybody else is, but she's chosen to make other victims rather than be a victim herself. And I think that there's a lot of women out there like Chelsea Perth where, you know, they'll become agents of really evil people because it means that they're important and they're valuable. And if your looks go away, then they still keep you around. You know, I mean, I think Ghislaine Maxwell is a great example of that. Yeah. And as the Epstein files and the trials were coming out, I was writing the book and I was like, there have always been women that are like that will throw other women under the bus because it means that they retain their value.
Yep.
My God. My next question was going to be about sex, and now I'm like,
oh, no. I know. Oh man, I
got you, baby. Don't worry.
It's hard to talk.
I got you.
Let's talk about sex.
We're kind of close
in a positive way.
We're kind of closing in towards the end of our time together. So, but I had a question that I thought was fascinating. So with Sunday O'Riordan as a character on TikTok, that character can almost evolve in real time. But now that you're putting pen to paper and committing some element of her to paper, mm-hmm. Once you put that, I'm always fascinated with the autonomy of art. Like once you put it out in the world, you cannot control how somebody responds to the art that you've put out in the world.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like, if you were to take Sunday O'Riordan just as a character on TikTok and the audience was starting to react to a storyline, you could shift that in real time.
Yeah.
But once it's in a book, it's locked in. So do you have any thoughts about how you're going to approach that going forward? Like, are you concerned that you're locking some elements of your character in that you cannot approach, or do you just love the freedom of being able to go, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want?
I love the freedom of being able to do whatever I want. I also have the philosophy that once you write a book, it's like sending a kid to college,
Yep.
where you hope that you've raised them and, to be good and how to react with people. And also, again, I've had people that, have left reviews on my book and they're like, this is the worst piece of shit I've ever read. And then I have people who love it. And you sort of have to separate yourself and realize that it will take on a life of its own. And I don't have control over that. And I've retconned a couple of things because it just didn't work writing the book. And I was like, I'd gotten rid of some characters that I brought back that I know people will be like, well, didn't they leave? And then they'll be like, oh, but the book is new. And they are the perfect person to have in this situation. And then there's callbacks to the series where they're like, oh, I remember when that happened. And like, it was mentioned. And there's new stuff too that, that I discovered while writing, and I really liked it. And I was like, this is how, I couldn't articulate it really well while I was trying to film and edit everything and get it out on a weekly basis. And now I've had time to sit with these characters, and they're different, and they've grown, and they've taken on lives of their own, and they're more seasoned, and they're more interesting. And I hope that people who are like fans of it realize why I did what I did. And I hope that people that are new to it, who go back and watch the old series, are like, oh, I realized why she did that. I want the sex question now. What was the sex question?
Wait, so there is no sex at all in The Marvelous Lady B.
Yeah.
They're not smutty in any way.
Yeah.
And there's a masturbation scene in All We Have.
There's a couple of sex scenes in this Fair Chase.
In this Fair Chase.
Yeah.
Which you told me, and I have started reading it, but I haven't finished it because ADHD is a bitch.
That's fine.
And now you are releasing a book that is going to have a lot more erotic moments in it. How have you dealt with that? Because I know there's always there's a moment for most authors where they're like, oh god, I have to write, like they just like type out the word cock like 50 times because they just have to get it out, and it feels weird, so they're just like pussy or whatever that they have to do to just get it out.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you going?
So honestly, I'm doing, edits now, and I realize that I have to go back and put a few more in because there's just so much story also. And so I realized I was like, I have to get through the story. Like I got to get from point A to point B. Everybody starts here and they have to end up here, and I have to get them there. And I realized that I was like, some people aren't fucking enough.
You know what?
Some people aren't fucking enough.
Yes,
and
a real problem.
Some people aren't fucking enough, and I think that now that they have all arrived at point B and the book is at the end, I can put more stuff in.
Yeah.
It was also hard because there's some stuff that during flashbacks deals with an abusive relationship. And I cried writing some of that stuff because it was really hard to write, and I kind of didn't want to go back and write funner sex scenes just because I was like, okay, I have to get through it. And it was not like a fun book to write. And, it's going to be something that I'm warning people about it before it comes out, that like, hey, it deals with some dark stuff. And, but it's also like, okay, after that happens to you, you can still have sex. You can still have fulfilling sex. Mm-hmm. You can still have sex with someone and it can matter, or it doesn't have to matter. And there was also a scene that I was really proud of where a character in Sunday O'Riordan that people really love doesn't have sex with somebody because she's too drunk. And that was important for me to have that in there and to be like, you know what, say the word tomorrow. If you're sober and you still want to come fuck me, please come find me. But like, this is not happening. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something that you don't really see a lot in romance, where sometimes it's like, actually, no, we're not fucking. Like, mm-hmm. We're gonna fuck later, potentially, probably. Mm-hmm. But I can't fuck you right now. I really want to, but I'm not going to. And to me, sometimes that's the sexiest thing that you can do is this is not going to be enjoyable I've had to tell, I laugh about this because we're friends now. I did have somebody who like cried in my arms because he's like, why won't you fuck me? And I'm like, because you're 5 drinks in and your dick doesn't work. And both of us, this is not going to go anywhere for us later. Oh, and we laugh about it now, but he was like, so being rejected really bothered him. And he was like, why don't you want me? Like, what is it? Like, am I not attractive? Like, are we not like, and I was like watching somebody who this was really hurting his feelings. But I was like, I can't have sex with you. You're way too drunk. This is not going to go well. Like, I'm going to put you to bed and you're going to go to sleep. And then the next morning we woke up and talked about it. And he was like, I'm so fucking embarrassed. I'm like, I know. Like,
good. Imagine if we'd fucked.
And I was like, I know but it's embarrassing because like sometimes when you don't like yourself or you don't feel good about your body, sometimes you do take substances or you do drink and you're like, I'm ready for sex. And whoever you want to have sex with is like, absolutely the fuck not. Like, this is not happening. But then you're like, no, I'm ready. And then all the other emotions that maybe you've been holding in, because it happens in the book where she's like, is like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have sex with anybody right now. And he's like, yeah, so I'm gonna leave.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go to bed. I'm gonna put you on your side. And I'm like reading it through later, and I'm like, they never fuck. They have to have sex later. It has to happen. Yes. And I literally am like sitting here, it's that other thing too, where as a writer, we all have other jobs and you're sitting there trying to do you're like, I'm trying to write a proposal for something that I want to work on. And I'm sitting there and I'm being like, hotel room in Nice. Oh, no. Back. My nails are clicking and I'm like, so what we want, the target demographic is.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna. And she's like, she has to run to his hotel room, and like, it has to be this big emotional moment. Our target demographic on Facebook.
That's so beautiful. So I love this. So we talk. I know a lot of authors. It's not a brag. It's just what happens. And
it's part of your podcast. So yeah.
And so many of y'all have day jobs, especially indie authors like yourself. I mean, you especially. You don't even fuck with the Zon. So,
so many jobs
have other jobs. Yes. And
yeah.
I always find it so funny to know what their day jobs are. I mean, there's so many teachers, right? But my favorite is my friend who works for a sticker company. They make sticker sheets for children. And in the evening, she writes the raunchiest sentient object erotica.
It's always the quiet ones.
I know.
Always the quiet ones.
I saw her there, Dave. Nice.
Oh, did you? I love her.
I got to hug her. It was great.
That's good.
It's always no, it really. But you know what? It's also one of those things where it's a bit of an escape, especially if your job is sort of like maybe the not most rewarding, or it's not really where you thought. I still remember when 50 Shades of Grey came out, and I watched this interview with E.L. James, who was like, I'd sit on my BlackBerry on the tube, and then I would beam it into my work computer, and I'm like, yeah, that's what we all like. And now, you talk to any author and it's like, you got to get it in where you can. You voice record while you're in the car. You write it on your phone. You put it in the notes app and then you do it later. Like, we're all doing everything else and, still managing to put out some pretty intense shit.
I know, man. I don't know how y'all do it. I don't. I really don't.
I don't.
I respect it.
That is the thing that I find fascinating, especially from somebody like you who can finish. Like finishing things. That has always been like my great weakness as a creative is the finishing. So to find somebody who not only does so many things, but finishes them all is very impressive.
I think that that media has taught us all to be like, when you finish something like a big project, it's a big moment. I finished writing All We Have Is Money on International Women's Day, but it was like, I was sitting on my sofa and I finished it and I looked up and I was like, oh, it's like 7 o'clock. I was in bed before 9 and I just sat there and I was like, okay, it's done. And I got to put it down. And then I sent it off to my 2 friends that helped me edit. And then I just went to bed and I woke up the next morning and I went to work. And I was like, I finished it. It doesn't and everybody thinks it's this big thing that you're like, I've done it. Like, my novel is complete. But really, it's like, okay, I finished my novel. I got to go make my family dinner. Okay, I finished my novel. I got to go to class. I finished my novel. Okay, I got to go do my taxes. Like, it's a part of life. And, once it's all done and complete, then, when it's like in my hand, that's when I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking sell this thing.
Yeah.
And then it's done.
That's the new job. Then all of a sudden you become
the job's
marketer.
Never done because it's like, okay, I got a lot of shit I gotta market, and then I gotta make this one be interesting, and then I gotta see how I can like get the word out, and then I gotta like go back and do rewrites. It's a lot, it's an ever changing, ever evolving thing, and it's just a part of life.
It is, but you are so far ahead of the curve with everything that you do. And if anybody wants to find out what you're doing, they can find you on the internet. Glamour Possum. There is a
Glamour
you.
Possum on every social. That's where you can find me.
There is a you, and you have a fantastic website.
There is a you in Glamour. It's
in Glamour.
The European spelling of Glamour.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
It's also the European spelling of possum.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Old Possum's Book of Particular Cats.
You can look for All We Have Is Money out this summer.
Oh, you're so much better than I am at this.
The fourth novel from Lauren Carter Reilly, and the first in what we hope is a long-running series within the world of Sunday O'Riordan, her incredible character that she invented all by herself. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. It has been a joy to speak with you.
Well, thank you guys so much. It was really fun to get to talk to you guys too.
Thank you very much. Oh my God, I have to breathe.